started off early this morning, preparing for all the meetings and functions that we have. We have a lot of alum back. Met this morning with our Football Leadership Council, which is really an important meeting that we have annually. And then we've got the football alum golf tournament going on today. And then we gave a lot of those former players tours of the facilities, and then trying to get ready for practice in the spring game, and the dinner tonight, the barbecue afterwards, and the cancer run tomorrow. And it's been very, very busy, But be glad to get out there and play the game and show the fans what we have. The players are excited about it. We cut back today, went in shorts, and tried to come out here and work on some things that maybe we didn't execute as well at a time or two throughout the course of spring. For example, maybe a certain way to divvy up the coverage versus a certain alignment or formation that maybe we had a bust on a couple of weeks ago. Came out here today and lined them up that way again and to test them to see if there was any carryover from what we taught them a week ago. So came out and got a lot of things done today, put in a couple of wrinkles for the spring game tomorrow and got something done.
Just you voted on, or you announced captains today?
Yeah, I did with the team, and I should have got in touch with Matt so we could get the word out. But we barely made it to the team meeting and barely made it to practice on time. With everyone coming back, I got to spend about an hour today with Chucky Jacoby. He and I were really close, and we had a bunch of chuckles. So we got to get behind a little bit. But it was worth it, Chuckles for Chucky, yeah. I didn't mean it that way, but. But we voted for captains, and it's just really an important thing that we do every year. And obviously, we did it again in the spring. That makes so much sense to me. We started doing it that way, Coach Childers last year, rather than allowing a bunch of guys that just joined your team in the fall to vote on something as important as your team captain, and they don't know anyone yet. So we've been doing it in the spring, and I like that idea. But we had a lot of guys vote and came away with the offensive captains being Rob Henry and Dennis Kelly. And those guys got a ton of votes. And defensive captains were Joe Holland and Kawan Short. Really good choices. And then we went with two special teams captains this year. Special teams is going to be a difference maker for us this season, a winning edge, a factor for our football team. And we came away with Chris Carlino and Carson Wiggs. And those guys are outstanding leaders on our football team. All those guys are. We have, I think, stronger leadership potential this year. Some of the guys that I might have voted for got a lot of votes, but maybe it's not as much as the top vote getters. And we had several guys that got 15, 18, 20-something votes. And that's a good sign for a football team. And rather than exclude those guys out of the recognition for leadership, we put together a group of honorary captains. And I like that. We can send some captains out for the coin toss and an honorary captain. And we got enough games to kind of divvy it up. The guys that got a lot of votes and were right in the running for being captains this year, our honorary captains will be Nick Mondek and Justin Siller and Albert Evans, a really good choice, Beckford, Lichtenberg, Logan Link, and Shep. Those are all guys that are great leaders, some of the hardest workers on our football team, and those guys had a whole lot of votes, close enough to be considered for captains, but the other guys had a few more. So we have some honorary captains this year, too.
Did you mean to have it two offense, two defense, two special teams, or is that just the way it came out?
No, I did it that way on purpose. And everybody on the team got to vote for two on offense, two on defense, two on special teams. So that's 6 votes per guy. Right. And that allowed really some extra votes to say who my next best leader choice would be. And I think that helped us identify some of the stronger leaders on our football team. So there was a method to the madness. And I'm not surprised that the voting went the way that it did.
Kenny, how about health-wise as you enter this spring game? A lot different than a year ago.
I hope so. We had 14 guys that were injured prior to coming out for spring ball, and 13 of those guys are still out. And that's okay. We'll get one guy back. I think Linkenheimer, was taken off of the out list. Guys that are out for the spring game. I think he'll get a few kicks in tomorrow. So he's the one guy that's returning. And I'm okay with that. We sat down and started talking about the spring calendar this year. And if we'd have came out a couple of weeks later, like we normally do, some of those 14 guys would have been cleared. And I'm not sure they would have all made it through spring ball, just based on history. Okay, so I'm glad that we came out early. It's unfortunate they couldn't get through spring ball, but they didn't get re-injured. So we had 14 guys out prior to spring ball starting. We have 13 of those same guys still out. The majority of them will all be clear here in a couple of weeks, and that's okay. And we have a couple of guys that probably won't go tomorrow that are new to the injury list. I think Peters Dry is one of them, and Sean Robinson is the other one. I wasn't sure if Charles Peruzzo would be able to go, but it looks like he's going to be able to go. And the same thing with Davis with Cody. Okay, same thing. Okay, so encouraged about the injury situation or the health status of our football team. I like the idea that spring practice ends tomorrow after the spring game, and we have a couple of weeks to get back in the weight room and to get going with our preparation physically for next season.
Is Sean still the knee injury he had the first day, or is it something new?
Same deal.
Okay.
It's just taking a little longer to come back, and it's going to be fine. And he's thrown the ball a little bit the last couple of days and looks good. There's no sense of putting him out there again right now. Hasn't had any reps. We'll have to get him called up later, and that's okay. But he's going to be fine.
It was back to the captains. For a guy like Rob Henry, I mean, I know he's your quarterback, so he's kind of put in a leadership position to begin with. But for a guy being so young, to get voted captain, kind of just speak to what that means for him and what that means, what that says his teammates say about him.
Even if he wasn't our quarterback, I think they still would have voted for him. I think he has outstanding leadership potential. He certainly is a great athlete and very respected by his teammates just based on his athleticism alone. But we all know that he's a special guy, and I'm not surprised to see him get the votes. Being at the quarterback position, that's really important to have a great leader at that spot. But even if he wasn't our quarterback, I think he'd been voted as a captain anyway. The players really look up to him, and he has all the intangibles and puts his heart into what's going on, and he's really an outstanding leader. So I'm not surprised.
How about what you've seen from Kwan this spring, and again another one of those captains for you?
Well, I think it's huge because Kwan can be a dominant player, and he has been at times. And I think that he has, and we talk about this a lot, he's taken to his game to another level. He goes harder, more wide open, turns it loose more now than he did this time last year. And he'll have to get himself in great shape if he becomes an every down player, if he unloads every down and comes off the ball and explodes and knocks them back and plays to his ability on an every down basis. He could be one of the great players at his position, not just in our league, but on a national level. He can be a dominant player. I don't have any question about that. He's gotten bigger and stronger. He's not carrying near the fat that he was carrying a year ago. We still have to trim him down a little bit. We still want to work on him some, but I think he's made great progress since this time last year. He's always had great potential. He's always made plays, but he's doing it on a much more consistent basis right now, and that's really important for our football team. We can be pretty stout on the inside with Kawan Short and Bruce Gaston and some of the other Ryan Isaacs that's playing very well right now. And so, Kevin Panfile's not out here. Brandon Taylor's not out here. We could be really stout on the inside. So that's a good sign for us.